President Nixon's departure for China. South Lawn, 17 February 1972.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Congress and members of the Cabinet, I want to express my very deep appreciation to all of you who have come here to send us off on this historic mission. And I particularly want to express appreciation to the bipartisan leadership of the House and Senate who are here. We, of course, are under no illusions that 20 years of hostility between the People's Republic of China and the United States of America are going to be swept away by 1 week of talks that we will have there. We must recognize that the government of the People's Republic of China and the government of the United States have had great differences. We will have differences in the future. But what we must do is to find a way to see that we can have differences without being enemies in war. If we can make progress toward that goal on this trip, the world will be a much safer world, and the chance, particularly for all of those young children over there, to grow up in a world of peace will be infinitely greater. I would simply say in conclusion that if there was a postscript that I hope might be written with regard to this trip, it would be the words on the plaque which was left on the moon by our first astronauts when they landed there. We came in peace for all mankind. Thank you and goodbye.
The President's mood, I'm glad to say, after having worked with him and for him for 21 years, is one of really great pride, and certainly all of us have great pride in him today, because he's, as I think he always is, in complete control of his destiny, but more, I think, the country's and the world. His mood is pensive. He has studied, he has worked hard, he has thought about this for, well, I know from early 1967, 68, maybe longer, that somehow we had to have a negotiation. We couldn't have this many million people alienated from the United States. I can only hope and pray and join the rest of the world in hoping it will be successful. And I am excited, I am proud, lived through a lot of big moments with the Nixons, but I think this is truly one of the greatest.
Thursday, February 17th, departure ceremonies and the takeoff of Andrews all went very well with no problems. The President seemed to be in great spirits on the chopper going over to Andrews, as he too felt the whole thing had gone well. So things seemed to be off to an auspicious start. We saw a little bit of the TV coverage after we got on the plane, because they had the set on the table in the staff room. It was kind of an odd feeling, because they covered the actual takeoff of the Spirit of 76, and we were on the plane watching the TV covering the takeoff, which was sort of fascinating.
Well, I think what we have to do till the first day is to feel it out. As we're going to have to find out what the mood is. We want to find out whether the mood might be on the basis of their statement they made a couple of days ago, or it might be they may have said that, now they may say something else. And I want to feel naturally there'll be in the plenary sessions, we'll have all our interpreters there. But I do not want to have a situation, say, where I'm in what is basically a very private meeting with him, where there are extra people there.
My experience has been that these times are really illustrative. They let it run.
The difficulty is that day we have a plenary session and we have a dinner, don't we? And postpone the dinner?
Yeah. I've never seen them pay any attention, but they always start on the second. I mean, they're never late.
Start on the second and end on the hour.
But I think they, again, just judging by my October trip, they'll get it done in 2 hours in the plenary session, because you'll make a statement, he'll make a statement, and there'll be some general agreement on how to proceed.
This is most interesting on the Chinese, and your comments before about Mao and Zhou and Malraux's anti-memoirs are most interesting, you know.
Yeah, and read the first part too. His talk about, really the more interesting part is his evaluation of de Gaulle. It's rather fascinating.
Miles and miles of state arrivals with all the troops marching up and down and everything else. Well, that's all repetitive and no good anymore, except to make one reel of the very best of it. And then a series of just shots, sort of a montage of the leaders as they stood on the platform. So you go gling, 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 one after another. Then that'll be fascinating.
Yes. Hello, Governor. How are you? Good to see you.
Oh, here's the governor.
Oh, thank you very much.
That was on behalf of my wife.
That's very.
I'll do my own if you don't mind.
Oh yeah. You, Governor, you get to do your own.
We've done this before.
Now we're officially always
have you here.
glad to have a day in Hawaii before moving on across the world.
You won't be able to.
I've got to work tomorrow, but I'm going to sit in the sun, work, get some of that tan you got. You're a little proud. How are you? Thank you for all the flowers through the years. You've been a good friend for 20 years. Thank you.
Hey, wave.
That's great. Beautiful.
Roll, baby.
Roll.
You know, I think we're going to have to walk a very fine line in this briefing today, because it's the first briefing with this group that's going to China with us, and because of the many sensitivities with the People's Republic of China, I think we want to give them a general feel of what the visit will be about, what the discussions will be about, but we can't in any way get into the agenda or get into the schedule because it's not set. Now, I think we want to talk a little bit about the leadership meeting yesterday and the point that the President made that all Americans have a stake in this visit, that it's the beginning of a process of communications with a country that we haven't really been in touch with for 21 years, and how we want that process to continue, and how the continuation of that process will be discussed in the meetings. And I think that's the only tone we want to lead this morning, don't you?
Yeah, it's going to be a rough session, Ron, because they're just thirsting for news, and you know you have an all-star cast down there. So I don't envy you your job this morning.
Well, when you put Buckley and Teddy White and Max Frankel and Phil Potter and John Chancellor and Walter Cronkite and all those people in one room, I guess they are going to be a little difficult today. But we'll deal with it.
Saturday, February 19th, in Hawaii. The President had me over at 10 this morning. We got into some domestic questions on the busing thing, the poverty bill, the back strike. We went over the schedule for next week, and he discussed some of his tactics for handling the meetings and the techniques that he's going to use. He says Henry's urging him to do it Henry's way, which is to get into the long, drawn-out historical and philosophical discussions with Joe. which the President is not inclined to do. Henry's also urging him to start in the plenary session with reading a written statement, which the President also is not inclined to do, and intends to follow his own technique on this rather than Henry's advice. He feels that he'll do much better that way, and I think he's absolutely right.
This is not a time for a long speech, but I would not want this opportunity to pass without saying just a word with regard to the significance of this moment. Some of you may recall that it was 2.5 years ago that right here in Guam, I announced a new direction for American foreign policy, based on the principles of self-reliance, self-respect, equal dignity for all nations, large and small, throughout the world. And tomorrow, I will take off from Guam for Shanghai and Peking, the first President of the United States ever to visit China. Guam, I know it is said, is where the American day begins. And I would hope that all of you here today would join me in this prayer, that with this trip to China, a new day may begin for the whole world. Thank you very much.
at about 2:30 or maybe a little bit before, apparently Joe and Lai appeared at the guest house unannounced, got a hold of Henry and said that Chairman Mao would like to see the president if he would come over. Henry rushed upstairs, told the president. He slapped on his coat. Two of them went out, grabbed Bob Taylor on the way, and took off for Mao's residence, unbeknownst to anybody else. Taylor came into the Chapin schedule planning meeting and said this is what they were going to do. He was very concerned about it, but that he was under orders to tell no one, and that they were not to tell Ziegler, make any public thing out of it until they got back. So Dwight came right down and told me. We debated how to handle the thing for a while, called Ziegler and had him come over, and I told him. Ron was holding a tangerine in his hand, took a bite of it, getting about half the tangerine in one bite, peeling and all. He was, to say the least, a little startled. We spent a very long hour and a half trying to figure out what the various contingencies were, since we had no idea when they'd be back or what would happen in the meantime. Since we couldn't announce any of this, we didn't exactly know how to handle it. We debated it back and forth as to what to do. Also speculated on all the wild range of possibilities that you have when you're sitting in a Chinese guest house with Red Army troops guarding you outside, and you kind of wonder, as the president's taken off alone with no staff, no security, except one agent, no doctor, etc. But the worries generally turned out to be unfounded, since the president returned shortly after 4. Anyway, the president called me up, told me he'd been over to see Mao. Obviously, he was very impressed with the whole thing, but didn't get into any details at that time.
谋求两国关系正常化，并就共同关心的问题交换意见，这是符合中美两国人民愿望的积极行动。这在中美两国关系史上是一个创举。
President Nixon's visit to our country at the invitation of the Chinese government provides the leaders of the two countries with an opportunity of meeting in person to seek the normalization of relations between the two countries and also to exchange views on questions of concern to the two sides. This is a positive move in conformity with the desire of the Chinese and American peoples, and an event unprecedented in the history of the relations between China and the United States. The American people are a great people. The Chinese people are a great people. The peoples of our two countries have always been friendly to each other. But owing to reasons known to all, contacts between the two peoples were suspended for over 20 years. Now, through the common efforts of China and the United States, the gate to friendly contacts has finally been opened. In conclusion, I propose a toast to the health of President Nixon and Mrs. Nixon, to the health of our other American guests, to the health of all our friends and comrades present, and to the friendship between the Chinese and American peoples.
哪也可以啊。
再进去以后，我也没看不清，因为围绕这个车。
让我10年以前爬到那个去过。
爬到过哪儿？10年前。
I can only say to the mediums like myself who have never seen it before that it exceeds all expectations. When one stands there and sees the wall going to the peak of this mountain and realizes that it runs for hundreds of miles, as a matter of fact, thousands of miles over the mountains and through the valleys of this country, that it was built over 2,000 years ago, I think that you would have to conclude that this is a great wall and that it had to be built by a great people. Many lives, of course, were lost in building it because there was no machinery or equipment at the time. It had to all be done by hand. But under the circumstances, it is a certainly symbol of what China in the past has been and what China in the future can become. People that could build a wall like this certainly have a great past to be proud of, and a people who have this kind of a past must also have a great future. My hope is that in the future, perhaps as a result of the beginning that we have made on this journey, that many, many Americans, particularly the young Americans who like to travel so much, will have an opportunity to come here as I have come here today with Mrs. Nixon and the others in our party. That they will be able to see this wall, that they will think back as I think back to the history of this great people, and that they will have an opportunity, as we have had an opportunity, to know the Chinese people and know them better. And I think one of the results of our trip, we hope, may be that the walls that are erected, whether they are physical walls like this or whether they are other walls of ideology or philosophy, will not divide peoples in the world. That peoples, regardless of their differences in backgrounds and their philosophies, will have an opportunity to communicate with each other, to know each other, and to share with each other those particular endeavors that will mean peaceful progress in the years ahead. So, all in all, I would say finally we've come a long way to be here today, 16,000 miles, and many things that have occurred in this trip have made me realize that it was worth coming. But I would say, as I look at the wall, it's worth coming 16,000 miles just to stand here and see the wall. You agree, Mr. Secretary?
I certainly do, Mr. President. It really is a tremendous privilege we've all had to be here today.
Are we rolling?
Is the mic clear of the shot?
There, no, it's in. Okay, clear.
We are now in the final hours of the President's momentous visit. This farewell banquet here in Shanghai, keep it rolling. We are now in the final hours of the President's momentous visit. This is the farewell banquet in Shanghai, a few hours before the President ends his unprecedented pilgrimage to peace and flies back to Washington. The guests here, Americans and Chinese alike, and the rest of the people around the world will one day have reason to thank Richard Nixon for having the courage and the vision to fly to Peking to further his search for a generation of peace.
get a little rest today?
I need 1 hour.
1 hour. Me too.
Had a wonderful day. Thank you.
Okay.
Bad luck. Bad luck.
Beautiful feathers. That peacock is especially pretty.
凤凰啊，搞得特别美。
它总要比杭州高一点。
Because they want to make it better than 韩桥。
他们有几种已经被杭州拿着去，他今天不好搞了，只能剩下结果了。
Because some of their characteristics of being taken over by Han Chao last night, so they couldn't do exactly what they did in Han Chao.
我告诉你一个秘密，我告诉你他们秘书长，昨天晚上赶着来，他不要冲突了。
Now, the Premier would like to tell Mr. President a secret. That is, he told our Deputy Minister of Public Security who came here last night to tell them to not repeat the declarations in Hanstell last night and of a new declaration that they would Let's see whether there are many dishes or not. Not too many. Less than that in Hanchao.
I don't think we'll starve tonight.
今天晚上看样子饿不死了，今天应该多吃一点了。
Oh, what a pretty menu. Oh, that is beautiful.
漂亮极了，这个弄的。
哦，这个变成个也是个蝴蝶啊，蝴蝶。
Mr. Prime Minister, Chairman Chang, and our Chinese and American friends. This magnificent banquet marks the end of our stay in the People's Republic of China. We have been here a week. This was the week that changed the world.
As we look back over this week, we think of the boundless hospitality that has been extended to all of us by our Chinese friends. We have today seen the progress of modern China. We have seen the matchless wonders of ancient China. We have seen also the beauty of the countryside, the vibrancy of a great city, Shanghai. All this we enjoyed enormously. But most important was the fact that we had the opportunity to have talks with Chairman Mao, with Prime Minister Zhou Enlai, with the Foreign Minister and other people in the government. The joint communique which we have issued today
summarizes the results of our talks. But what we have said in that communique is not nearly as important as what we will do in the years ahead to build a bridge across 16,000 miles and 22 years of hostility which have divided us in the past. And what we have said today is that we shall build that bridge.
With Chairman Mao, with the Prime Minister, and with others with whom we have met, our talks have been characterized by frankness, by honesty, by determination, and above all, by mutual respect. Our communique indicates, as it should, some areas of difference.
It also indicates some areas of agreement. To mention only one that is particularly appropriate here in Shanghai is the fact that this great city over the past has on many occasions been the victim of foreign aggression and foreign occupation. And we join the Chinese people, we the American people, in our dedication to this principle, that never again shall foreign domination, foreign occupation be visited upon this city or any part of China or any independent country in this world. Mr. Prime Minister, our two peoples tonight hold the future of the world in our hands.
And as we think of that future, we are dedicated to the principle that we can build a new world, a world of peace, a world of justice, a world of independence for all nations. And if we succeed in working together where we can find common ground, if we can find the common ground on which we can both stand, where we can build the bridge between us and build the new world, generations in the years ahead will look back and thank us for this meeting that we have held in this past week.
And let the great Chinese people and the great American people be worthy of the hopes and ideals of the world for peace and justice and progress for all.
Well, goodbye.
Mr. President, do you have any comments from the folks back home? I will. Good luck. Okay, Willie. Thank you.
现在还在那里一边教一边自己练，练不得了。还是练个现在练，练还活动活动。13级。还有那20级。这个看人家都。但是而且还没人家都对。
Beg your pardon?
Is the Premier happy with the talk?
这个总理啊，对会谈是否感到高兴啊？
公报已经说了吗？
It's already has been stated in the communique, hasn't it?
更多的话说了吗？
I don't have anything more to add to that communique.
是不是要上上去？
他们飞去吧。
现在总理可以休息了。